How's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. Well, I know many of us know by the end of the day that old Cory Booker is out of the presidential race. We're not surprised at all, Cory. It was just a matter of time. So my royal family, I got an article to read. I got 3 videos to play. And I got that bonus video, my royal family, out of that 3. Oh, y'all won't be surprised, but it's juicy. Show you how the enemy get down. So, I have an article that I'm going to read. Let me move this up here. That I will pin. Hopefully I don't forget. And I'm going to read this. The majority of it. Some of it ain't necessary. So, let me get this over here. Let's see here. Cory Booker ends presidential campaign as Trump Senate impeachment trial looms. New Jersey Senator Cory Booker ending his campaign means there is just one black person left running for president in a field of candidates already lacking diversity. Are we surprised? Not at all. Cory Booker has ended his bid for the Democratic nomination to be president, according to the news reports that cite an email his campaign sent on Monday morning announcing the suspension. Let's see, the New York Post reported that the New Jersey senator indicated that a lack of funds, along with his increasing inability to see a path forward in the race, were among the reasons for him ending his campaign. Oh boy, I got a lot to say, Cory. You know I do. So I choose to suspend my campaign now, take care of my wonderful staff, give you time to consider other strong choices in the field, Booker wrote in the email. Booker departure from the race all left an even wider field of candidates that already lack diversity. The senator's decision to end his campaign came AIM reports that the House Majority Leader Nancy Pelosi was set to deliver the articles of impeachment against Donald Trump to the senator for the president's trial, though it was unclear when exactly that would happen. Booker, who sits on the Senate Judiciary Committee, would join his fellow former presidential candidate Kamala Harris in helping to preside over Trump's impeachment trial. Stacey Abrams was among those sending their outpouring of support for Booker, after he announced the move that was expected aim his low polling and an inability to secure a spot on the previous and next debate stage. See, Booker joined Harris, Julian Castro, and candidates who have recently ended their campaigns. The 3 of them were also the only reliable voice when it came to speaking up on the campaign trial and debate stages about the state of black and brown lives in the U.S. without running for president. The only people of color still in the race were entrepreneur Andrew Yang and former Massachusetts governor, let me pronounce that, Deval Patrick. These people don't look at themselves as people of color because of the world that they're in. So basically, we're seeing Booker was polling at 1%. Ooh, real nasty. What else do we all have here? Now that Booker is no longer running for president, he can put more of his focus on Trump's impeachment trial in the Senate, when and if that ever happens. Let's see. by the Republican senators who want to proceed with an impeachment trial that would be devoid of any witness. Ain't that something? Have a trial with no damn witnesses. Boy, Trump is all one. He about that life. The thought of that ever happening was insane, Booker said last week. If you were a juror at a big trial and they told you firsthand witnesses that saw what happened, material fact witnesses are not there, you would be offended as a juror. Like, what the hell? They're not at the trial? That's insane. Yeah, I agree with you, Cory Booker. That is quite insane, but that is the world of Donald Trump. Now, Booker, I got to take the family on this journey. And then I'm going to close this out like, I got this bonus video too, but I got to close this out real sweet. And I'm going to talk to you, Cory, and explain to you why your ass didn't get to where you needed to get to and what you could have done. True Royal gonna enlighten you. So, let's get into this first video. Some of it y'all might have heard before, what I've read, but then some things are always left out too. First video under slightly over 2 minutes.
What is Booker saying?
Well, Kate, he's telling his supporters that he felt he did not have the resources to continue in this race for president with just a few weeks to go until the Iowa caucuses. Of course, Booker was not going to be on the debate stage tomorrow night for CNN's debate in Iowa with the Des Moines Register. Of course, he was one of the vocal critics of the DNC's threshold that prevented candidates of color from making that debate stage. Tomorrow night will be the first time we will see all white candidates on that stage. But I want to focus on Booker's decision for now and read you a bit from an email he sent out to supporters. It's going out right now. He says, "It was a difficult decision to make, ending his bid for president, but I got in this race to win, and I've always said I wouldn't continue if there was no longer a path to victory. Our campaign has reached the point where we need more money to scale up and continue building a campaign that can win, money we don't have and money that is harder to raise, because I won't be on the debate stage and because the urgent business of impeachment will rightly be keeping me in Washington." Of course, Booker was one of the senators who would have had to return to Washington and will be in Washington for this impeachment trial in the Senate. It threw another wrench into his campaign plans moving forward. But of course, resources were the key question here for Booker. He only raised $6.6 million in the last quarter of 2019, which was his best quarter of the campaign, but far behind the leaders in this race. And of course, he never had a breakout moment. From the time he launched his campaign nearly a year ago, February 1st in Newark, he had a consistent message of love, of community, of mending the moral fabric of America, but it wasn't something that voters ever responded to. And so, Kate, we see the result of that today. Booker ending his campaign before voters cast their ballots in Iowa, New Hampshire, and those other early states. Now, we don't know if Booker will endorse a Democratic candidate in this primary process. What he did say in his statement to supporters, however, Kate, is that he will campaign for and support whoever is the Democratic nominee and also help Democrats down the ballot because, as he said often on the trail, beating Trump is the floor for him, not the ceiling.
All right. So let's end that. Oh, Lord, yeah, we know about the impeachment. Oh, yeah, the drama continues, my royal family. All right, I have to, hold my tongue, my royal family, because I have so much to say, but we're going to roll along. Now, I pray that this audio is loud enough that y'all can comprehend what they're saying.
Senator Cory Booker is the latest Democratic candidate to suspend his bid for the White House. The New Jersey senator made the announcement just moments ago. He was one of only
so you want to act like that?
2 African-American candidates still in the race. CBSN political reporter Caitlin Huey-Burns is joining us on the telephone, and CBS News 2020 campaign reporter Jack Herman is in Des Moines, Iowa. So, Caitlin, to you first, why is Senator Booker choosing this moment to drop out?
Hi there, and apologies for some background noise. I'm on my way to Iowa as we speak, actually. But the Booker campaign news comes as he did not make the debate stage for the debate tomorrow night. And in his note to supporters, he said that, he ran as a uniter and a healer, but we've reached the point, he says in the memo, where we need more money to scale up and to continue building a campaign that can win. Money that is harder to raise, having been blocked from the next debate, and with the urgent business of impeachment rightly keeping me in Washington. So that's kind of the reason the campaign is giving for the senator from New Jersey. First, that it's really difficult to have some momentum heading into Iowa in these next couple of weeks if you're not on that debate stage, if you don't have ways to really connect with people and raise more money, and kind of knowing that the next few weeks are going to be taken up by impeachment, which is going to have the senator off the campaign trail in Iowa and back in Washington at a really critical time.
Well, I got to tell you, I feel like Cory Booker was probably one of the most sort of positive sounding and enthusiastic candidates, even as he wasn't polling sort of in the top four. He always sort of seemed very optimistic. So, Jack, you've been with the campaign. Can we talk about some of his signature issues that, he was a real sort of mouthpiece for?
Yeah, that's right. He really pushed and was a leading voice on gun violence, safety and gun violence prevention in the race. In May, he released his gun violence prevention plan, and it was basically a gun licensing plan. And his argument was, if you need a license to drive a car, you need to have a license to own a gun. And another issue that he really touted on the campaign trail was criminal justice reform. He noted that in a very hyper-polarized, partisan time in Washington, that he was a leading force on the First Step Act in the Senate and in Congress, which President Trump did sign into law. So he really led the field, especially on those two issues on the trail.
Mm-hmm. So, Caitlin, for supporters of Senator Booker, is there another candidate in this race that best mirrors his priorities and might be able to pick up some new voters here?
Who benefits?
Right. Well, given that the senator really didn't have a huge base of support, we saw that in polling, it's kind of difficult to tell where these supporters will go. But I'll note a couple of things. First, whoever Senator Booker endorses will be, that would be a really key endorsement because he is a real active force on the campaign trail when we've seen him campaign for other candidates. It's also significant that, this is a 2020 field that is becoming significantly less diverse. When you look at the debate stage tomorrow night, it is all white candidates on that stage, and the top tier contenders of this race are all white. And now with Cory Booker exiting the race, there is no African-American candidate in the running at this point. Jack mentioned a lot of the issues that he talked about as well, and you can expect that to continue. And Cory Booker, it's interesting to think about some of these candidates who have gone after Joe Biden. That's kind of thinking about Julian Castro, who dropped out recently. You had Kamala Harris. Cory Booker was very critical of Biden earlier in the campaign and then kind of backed off of it. But it just goes to show that those kinds of criticisms of Biden, who is considered still the front runner for the nomination at this point, really kind of backfired. This is a time where we're seeing the candidates become more aggressive with one another. We're seeing Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren go after each other a little bit in the final stretch before Iowa. And Cory Booker is someone who really campaigned as someone who wanted to be, campaigned on this message of love and unity. And it's not clear if that's something that is resonating with a Democratic electorate that really just wants to take on Donald Trump.
So, Jack, I do want to ask you about that because, here you have Cory Booker. You seem to have a pretty strong social media game. I know that Elizabeth Warren always brags about her selfies, but, man, I think Cory Booker could almost rival her, could compete. He was really good with the selfies. A great speaker, a lot of enthusiasm. There was definitely a call for the Democratic candidates to reflect the Democratic voters. More diversity. So here we have a diverse candidate who's proven himself, certainly in Newark and now, in the Senate. What happened? Why wasn't his message enough for Democratic voters?
Well, that's right. That's the big question that a lot of I guess pundits would argue is like, why hasn't Cory Booker's campaign really taken off yet? He has consistently polled in the single digits throughout the election cycle. His fundraising numbers have lagged behind some of his other competitors. And that's something, too, that I would note as well in terms of fundraising. He, in right before the third quarter ended, his campaign manager sent out a memo detailing that we need to hit this fundraising goal in 10 days in order to keep the pathway to victory possible. He hit that goal, but Senator Booker has been very clear from that time forward that he's not in this presidential race as a vanity project. He's been very clear that he's in it to win it. And if he doesn't see the pathway forward, he will drop out of the race. And that's something he noted in an email to supporters just now, that he does not see that pathway to victory right now at this moment.
So Caitlin, you know, in addition to running for president, of course, Cory Booker is the New Jersey senator. But I wonder, you know, it's sort of striking to me that, as Emery pointed out, there was an attempt to mirror the diversity that exists in the Democratic Party by the DNC. And so I wonder what the path was, how the path was illuminated for candidates like Cory Booker, like Julian Castro, like Kamala Harris. What was the impetus for them saying, you know what, there is a path to the presidency for me, because we talk a lot about diversity. We talk a lot about having representation, much in the same way that Democratic voters looks like. But at the end of the day, it's not really working out that way. And, you know, we're now looking at a group of candidates running that looks unlike what we saw in the early stages of the campaign.
Yeah, that's right. After the 2018 midterms, you really saw the fuel behind women candidates and African-American candidates and black candidates, because we saw that black voters in 2018 were really fueling the base of the Democratic Party. We saw the turnout in the midterms, and there was a lot of thought that that could be reflected in the presidential race as well. But when you look at the polling, and again, polling is all that we have right now at this point, because voters have not weighed in. They will just in a couple of weeks. But we're seeing that candidates like Joe Biden are getting support among the more diverse group of Democratic voters at this point. So there is this question about representation versus this kind of what electability or perceived electability looks like among Democratic voters. In other words, we're seeing that African-American voters, Latino voters are not necessarily supporting black and Latino candidates. Instead, we're seeing candidates like Joe Biden getting those supporters. So this is something that candidates like Julian Castro and Cory Booker have been really vocal about, kind of having this conversation. So when we talk about kind of the next steps for Booker at this point too, and he will be running for re-election to the Senate as well, this is certainly part of the conversation that Democrats are having right now.
So moving forward, he's still going to be pretty busy, as you point out. He's a senator, which means there's lots of stuff happening, a vote on the president's war powers, and, of course, a potential impeachment trial coming up. What role do you see him playing sort of publicly for the Democratic Party, both as an outspoken senator, but also as we move into the campaign season? That's for Caitlin.
Oh.
Sorry,
I'm
Caitlin.
sorry. Well, certainly lots of candidates would want Cory Booker to come and campaign for them and endorse them. He is a very powerful force in the campaign trail. I remember being in Iowa around this time last year, before Cory Booker had announced, talking to people there who had seen him come and campaign for other candidates, who really liked his energy, liked what he had to say. So you can certainly imagine him being a powerful surrogate for whoever becomes the nominee. And also, you know, he has to run for re-election, so that will be another thing that he will be contending with in the immediate term. But I'd also like to point out, you know, we've been talking about the impact that the impeachment trial will have on some of these members of Congress who will have to balance these roles on the campaign trail and their chief priority, which is the Senate. You know, Cory Booker, Amy Klobuchar, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, there have been lots of questions about what this will do to the campaign. And so it was interesting to see in that memo the Cory Booker campaign said that it certainly was a factor, that the idea of being away from the campaign trail and not being able to have that interaction, not being able to use that to kind of raise money, could be a distraction. So I'm interested to see if we hear more from candidates as we get closer to Iowa, the impact that the impeachment trial is having.
Right. Okay, Caitlin, Jack, thank you so much, guys.
All right. Let's shut this down as quick as possible. Don't want no pop-ups. And let me go over here. Before we get to the bonus video. Now, Cory, the reason why you and Kamala Harris are out of the race is because y'all was dicking around and you wasn't straightforward. Them baby bonds wasn't getting it. Now, I feel personally, and I could be wrong, the only way that you can beat Donald Trump, and you a person of color, is you have to be unforgiving with your message. You have to be gangster and be about that life. And you have to let your people know you willing to basically sink or swim with your people. You got to be like that. Now, you know, Cory got a lot of white friends and both of his parents are black, because some people don't think that. I do my research. And I've been following Cory Booker for a number of years, and I've seen a documentary with his parents years ago. And, you know, they whitewashed too. And Cory was playing, thinking all this unity and love. It's a dog ass world when it comes to politics. And you should have left it where we clearly felt you, opposed to hear you, Cory Booker, that you would do everything possible to fight for us to get our reparations. Now, if we could see that you was putting in that real good fight and you really meant that, and it didn't come in fruition, we would know that you were being core truthful. But see, y'all black candidates is funny style, because you're trying to appeal to the enemy. Then the enemy will use you for their own personal gain, because they know that you will stab your own in the back to get to where you got to get to. But this type of candidate that you dealing with, Donald Trump is unforgiving. We know he racist to the core. We know what his message is about. He's very clear. And see, I can respect someone being very clear. And you cannot hem and haw Cory Booker. So you just tuck your tail, go on back to D.C., be a part of the impeachment process. Trump ain't going nowhere. It's still a kangaroo court and all of that. But, you know, to appease the American people and spend up our money, y'all got to go out there and go through the antics. True Royal is enlightening you, Cory ass Booker. Plus, you didn't get no coins. So, my royal family, I have one last video. You know, bonus. If I bring a bonus, the shit is real juicy. So let's see what kind of juiciness we have.
You're going to lose.
I saw that on Twitter.
I think that.
Well, and you know, it's interesting because that moment on Twitter was probably worth more than any ad that Bernie Sanders could buy, because the president does this. He'll lift you up. He did it with Mike Bloomberg, too, if you've been reading his Twitter feed. So The Atlantic just posted this. Cory Booker runs out of time, this is their headline, despite enthusiastic crowds and an impressive pile of endorsements, his campaign couldn't break through. Why not?
Well, he really didn't have a message to begin with. I mean, he talked about a lot of progressive, but he kind of was under the radar. Most of the debates, he didn't have a breakout moment. I don't think his campaign was really organized. And
he went after Joe Biden a couple times in the debate.
And I don't think that's the thing that destroyed him. But when many of us had known him when he was a New Jersey mayor in Newark, he was an on-the-ground guy, right? And he talked with people, and he had a message, and it was all about the people. And he wasn't as progressive as he is now. And so I think he got away from himself, that guy, and he tanked.
Jeannie, we've had Democrats on the couch who've worked with him who say that he's lazy.
Cory Booker.
Yeah.
I mean, I would not suggest that Cory Booker is lazy, but I do think the campaign from the beginning, he could not find his footing. He did not, to your point, have a message. He was neither in that progressive Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren wing, nor was he in the moderate wing. He very similar sort of to the senator from California, just simply couldn't get his message out there. But I would just suggest that as we look at these polls, and being a pollster, just let me say, they are all within a margin of error. This is not a, runaway for Bernie Sanders. This is going to be
that's
probably,
one state. That's
well,
Iowa.
and the same polls we're seeing out of New Hampshire,
right.
And it's going to depend an awful lot on what's happening in South Carolina and then Nevada. And let's not forget, both Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren could well be trapped in Washington, D.C. 6 days a week without speaking if this trial goes forward. Bill Clinton's trial was 37 days. That will bring you through Nevada. So this thing is going to change
dramatically. Who does that help?
I think it helps Joe Biden.
All right, that's all we needed. That's all we needed, my royal family. Girlfriend said, Cory, you lazy. Now the other one said, no, I don't think so. Cory not a lazy person. I've seen how he work. He works. He overworks himself to come all docile. You got to come with some strength. You got to be able to sucker punch a person, Cory Booker. But Becky said, you lazy. And we know what that code word means. Old Fox News is always about that life. I don't see how any black person could work for Fox News. You have to, demonstrate to Fox News that you're willing to go there and hang your folks. But Becky said it straight up. And once it's out there, it's out there. Oh, yeah. Said you lazy. Niggas is lazy. Don't work hard enough. No, you were working too hard to appease the enemy. And you just felt like that we was just going to go along and get along because, you black, I'm black. But see, you in a different arena. You in a different world. You don't live in my world, Cory Booker. You must be very clear in your message. So my message is very clear, my royal family. I'm for the royal family only. I support none of these candidates. None of these candidates. I didn't become this, my royal family. I was born this way. I'm always focused on the royal family. I do not compromise at all. I speak very clear to the royal family. So if anybody out there saying True Royal just here playing a game, you got me real fucked up. And that's how you got to be when you a candidate. So what you talking about? I'm for my folks. Well, you got to be for the other folks. I don't give a damn about them other folks. Go find somebody else. So you got to stir something within the royal family where we feeling you opposed to hearing you. So take your baby bonds, tuck your ass, and run on back to Washington and go continue to appease the enemy. So, my royal family, render your voice with your beautiful divine words. And it's always, my royal family, I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. And with that said, Ashe.